What a day! What a lovely day! And that's right, because we are the three cameramen. We're back at it with another podcast for you guys today. So today we're doing a bit of Mad Max Fury Road. I know quite a few there. But
What was that?
this is the,
Okay.
that's
actually
it.
it?
And then it's directed by
That was your
George
funny
Miller.
intro you wanted to do.
It's directed by George Miller.
Just screaming on the mic.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That is the first thing you'll hear. We have Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron star. It's a great action film. Came out in 2015, 15th episode. I get what we did there. Yeah. So I'm gonna start with some like first ratings. So when you first saw the film, what was your kind of initial thoughts? And
Will you also introduce our special guest Joe, please, Daniel?
Oh, my bad. Yeah. So we have Joe.
No, I was just saying I was an ex-film student, so.
Oh yes.
Talking
Yeah.
You should see.
I like Deva, who we've had previously. So
And Emily.
Melissa.
Thank you.
Wait, no, wait, Melissa's student.
all right, the first time you saw the film, what were your initial thoughts? Starting with Finley.
It's me. Yeah, no, I watched it. I think it was like 2 days ago, and I loved the visuals of the film. Obviously, it was shot in the desert, and with like the action in it and the prop designs, I thought it just worked so well together. I mean, I personally would say it was had the best fighting scenes like I've seen so far. Obviously, I probably haven't seen. There's like good competitors like I think it was Kingsman, Dan, saying that he likes those fight scenes, but I thought these fight scenes were really good. Although they were quite long, they were quite active in these fight scenes. There was no like slow-mo or just short bits that dragged it along. I think that worked really well with it. Like I said, like prop design, the cars in it were amazing. I thought that was a really cool aspect of the film, and I think the plot was really interesting. And yeah, overall, interesting film. Owen, what's your first opinions on this film?
So I watched this film for the first time. Must have been a year ago now, and then I watched it recently for this podcast. And I would have to say this is like in my top 5 action films of all time, personally.
Yeah.
Just because it stays so committed to being what it is, and just being like it's basically like one giant car chase, and it's so like consistent with its tones and themes. It just doesn't hold back on being this sort of giant explosion fueled high octane energy sort of car sequence, and it's one of the more unique action films that sort of it's a very layered story that if you wanted to analyze it you could, but if you wanted to just watch it at a surface level, then you wouldn't have to. It's not throwing like social commentary into your face. It's just it's knowing what it is, and that's just been a great action film, and it succeeds in doing that completely.
I would say
that's
like
my respect.
I would say like when you said how it drags on the that it's just a consistent car chase.
Yeah,
I think that makes the movie a lot more interesting, because it's not like there's boring elements, because you always have that suspense of the cars chasing them consistently.
Yeah. And our special guest Joe, what do you think of the film?
I really loved it. I literally watched it like half an hour ago, and kind of just reminded me of like a sort of like a apocalyptic Western American sort of film, just like being set in the desert and just having all the chase scenes kind of just replaced with cars and everything. And like even at the start of the film, like when it opened, it was just like instantly like a chase scene with just Max being chased by all the white people. Don't really know how to explain them. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
And Dan, what was your first impressions on the film?
Yeah. So first time I watched it was probably like a couple of months ago, and I kind of watched the first half an hour of the film, and basically I was bored. I know, right?
Disgraceful.
But then I watched it yesterday, and like all the way through, and it was really good, but I do have a lot of flaws with it. I think definitely in terms of it having barely any plot at all throughout the whole thing. Obviously, I can appreciate the kind of the practical effects and like all the fight scenes are just like stunning to like look at and stuff. But yeah, I thought it was really good in general, and yeah,
it's actually, despite me saying this is one of my favorite action films, I think it is one of the most, well, not one of the most, but one of the more flawed action films there are. I mean, the themes are pretty consistent, but the whole idea of empowering women and all that stuff, which I think was one of the main motivators why people love this film so much, I feel like that sort of gets lost halfway through the film, especially towards the sort of race back to the Citadel. I feel like that sort of gets a bit misconstrued with the action, which is amazing action. And also, I thought the dialogue in some of the scenes was like a bit weird. So some of Tom Hardy's lines sounded like voiced over, like dubbed over. It sounded really weird at times.
Or
Tom
he's
Hardy
just
had
too
barely
quiet.
any lines.
Yeah,
He didn't say
he's just
much.
too quiet.
It makes sense though why he had no lines. I mean, obviously this is the 4th Mad Max film, but they sort of treated it as a sort of remake.
It's a Mad Max film
slash
without Mad
continuation.
Max.
Wait,
Yeah.
isn't this the first Mad Max?
No, this is the
Or
4th.
No, that was old one.
Oh.
It's like a soft kind of remake. Of
Yeah.
the series.
I think what I should let you know is in the I watched a recap video for I haven't seen the original trilogy, but from my understanding, in the original trilogy, Mad Max had a family. His his wife and a daughter, and they both died. And then he's been going from place to place. So it was like the Thunderdome, now it's the Citadel, trying to just find and like live in this post-apocalyptic world. And this is one of the
Is that
places.
why
you
he
said-
kept, like,
Sorry,
is that
Joe.
why he
You
kept, like, having those flashbacks throughout the
Yeah,
whole film?
yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you say that, but when he was in Citadel, he at the end he ends up leaving. He
Yeah.
doesn't stay.
Yeah. Yeah, I
that's what
said
you're saying.
he bounces between locations.
Yeah, but you're saying he was trying to find somewhere to stay.
No, he's trying to live, but he can't trust anyone because his mother and his wife and daughter died. So because he in Mad Max 2, it was like I can't remember what it's like beyond Thunderdome. There's a place called the Thunderdome. Then there was this city he went to in Mad Max 3, and now it's the Citadel. He didn't want to go to the Citadel. He got kidnapped, and he's just trying to go by his life, and he leaves because that's not his place there. It's a place for mothers, and that's why he
I
leaves.
don't know.
Oh.
I didn't really understand that bit because I kind of felt like the whole plot of the story was kind of a bit of his character developing throughout the whole thing, like starting to trust these people, and sort of changing. So at the start, sort of like his only instinct was to survive,
Yeah.
but then there was like parts where he was like willing to like risk everything just to keep these other people alive, even though he could die from it.
I'll build, because obviously at the start of the film, I think Max's character development is really interesting in this, because at the start of the film, he's like at his most primal. I don't know what happened at the end of Mad Max 3, but obviously something happened that's caused him to go sort of a bit insane. He's like eating animals like now, like wild bugs. His hair's all grown out.
He went
all
a
that
little
stuff.
bit bananas.
Yeah, and then he's then used as a blood bag, like tattooed on, and like used as just fuel basically, and sort of exploited for his universal blood donor thing.
I was just wondering, what's the point of them? Do they just take their blood,
Yeah,
like the humans, and then just I don't know, what feeds off them, or?
to fuel their warriors, or
To go to
the
Valhalla.
white men. To go to
Yeah, are
Valhalla.
white men human? Or are they like?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
not really. Like,
Savage.
savages. So.
Right.
Like Lord of the Flies. At the end of Lord of the Flies.
Oh my
It-
god,
it's-
stop
it's like
quoting
a-
Lord of the Flies.
What do you mean stop quoting? I'm quoting it.
You know you quote it all the time. I know when you do. No, out of the podcast, you always quote Lord of the Flies. So.
Don't do.
I've never heard it.
It is called the Thunderdome because they made a Rick and Morty episode on it,
Oh.
or like based around it.
Oh yeah, they did. No.
Mm.
What I also love about this film is its characters and how George Miller just does like it seems like at some point he just added characters for the fun of it. I think my personal favorite character in the film was the guitar player with like the fire coming out of his electric guitar
Yeah.
as he was blasting
Yeah.
music. It's so unnecessary, but it's so like it's really adds to the world building.
Cool. Yeah.
Um,
Do you know who that reminded me of? You know, in Pan's Labyrinth, the Pale Man.
The guy with the electric guitar shooting fire reminds you of the Pale Man.
Yes, like
Well,
the same
actually,
face.
okay, no, you know what? Actually, he has no eyes, so that does kind of make
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. It reminded me of the guy that bites heads off fairies, you know.
And at the end, you have all those like I think they're called pole cats, pole vaulters,
Okay.
with chainsaws,
Oh, yeah.
jumping from
Yeah.
car to car. That is just like
Yeah,
it's just like, you know, going all out, like I said earlier, in this idea and just like doing it for this potential.
I mean, I loved the whole concept of how there was different like boroughs of like in a way gangs. So like you had the Citadel, then you come into the valley and you got guys with like ghillie suits or on motorbikes, and then you go further, you got these guys with like spiky cars and stuff. I think that concept was really cool. Yeah.
Hedgehog people.
Hedgehog people. I mean,
That's what I
talking about cosmetics and all that kind of stuff. What did you think about, you know, the type of cars they had and
The mise en scène.
yeah.
There it is.
No, I liked it. I thought it was quite like, obviously it kind of reflected the kind of post-apocalyptic setting of the film, and I just generally like that sort of like just smashing cars into each other, that sort of thing. So it was just like really entertaining for me to watch that, and especially
Yeah.
as you say, the bit with the pole vaulters.
All the effects were practical as well. Like all the explosions and
Yeah.
car crashes were completely like done in
CGI.
person.
Mm.
See, actually, CGI was used, I think, a little bit. I think the most noticeable one is at the end. You know, when Nux like flips the car over, and he, like
Yeah.
we sort of go into the Mad Max symbol or like the car head or whatever it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, maybe
The
just
steering
Santa
wheel,
Claus is
yeah.
himself.
Yeah. The truck flipping was real, but the bit after that was a bit CGI.
I tell you what was CGI. I was looking at behind the scenes. You know when it was like the end fight scene and they're fighting on top of the oil truck, and Tom Hardy's on the top fighting the people.
Oh,
I think
CGI?
that it was CGI, yeah, because obviously there was like, I don't know, I think they had to put CGI in the car with the cars because you couldn't be going at a high speed chase with, you know, an actor on top of the
You
car.
can.
You can't find it.
Tom
You
Cruise,
can do it, but they
Tom
didn't do
Cruise
it.
can
Tom
hang off a page.
Oh, wait, Tom Cruise is like
No,
a
no,
different
no.
breed of person, bro.
So you know how Tom Hardy at the start is like sort of as the blood bag on the front of the car, like with his arms bent backwards, and they're
Yeah.
like racing. That's all practically done. That's Tom
Yeah,
Hardy.
that's fine because you're
desert.
tied up. Whereas
No, but like the car's
Tom
getting
Hardy's
flipped
on
over
top
with
of the thing.
explosions next to him. And the
Yeah,
actual
well,
fight scenes
I don't-
are part done in real life. If you see, in the bit when Tom Hardy, like with the Guitar Man, for example, beats up the Guitar Man for some reason. I don't know why. It's a bit unprovoked, but whatever. That's done in person in the desert in real life. So
Well, yeah, I mean, every shot isn't shot in the same place, so I guess the one I saw was probably
yeah,
just
probably.
a certain shot.
Okay. I think
Happy Feet. This guy directed Happy Feet. He's got.
this
to
is
be a
the
good
man
director.
of what's it? Charlotte the Pig. What's it called again?
Babe Pig in the sea. or
Babe the
something.
Pig.
Something like that.
The best action film of all time.
Wait,
and
the
then
guy who
other ones.
directed this directed
Miller.
Happy Feet.
Yes.
Basically,
That's
the only sort of kind of like, I guess, kind of series or like main film he's done is kind of Mad Max. He's done the two Happy Feet films,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
Mad Max, and that's about it. He hasn't
Yeah.
done like sort of. He's not like Christopher Nolan, where he's like hot between kind of
Different
genres.
genres,
Yeah.
I mean,
Big jump to direct though.
from
Yeah.
Happy Feet to
Directing
Mad
Happy
Max Fury
Feet's
Road.
just
Yeah.
just a quick question. You know the whole concept of Mad Max, like the context behind it. What is it? Is it like a nuclear blast and everyone's now in a desert? Because I didn't really understand it. Like, how are they all getting in that situation? I obviously haven't seen the previous Mad Maxes, so I probably wouldn't know. But I don't know if you know.
I mean, I would guess it was to do with like nuclear warfare, something like that.
Yeah. Maybe.
Mm.
Let me just look it up.
There's that quick cut in the start of the film where like there's like trees like getting their leaves
Yeah.
swept off them. I think it's either global warming or, like Joe said, a nuclear attack.
Yeah,
I
it
can't-
says here extreme conclusion, economic and social collapse in dark mirror. Oil scarcity. Yeah, nuclear apocalypse. Yeah.
Cool. So me and Daniel have already said what we not like a huge fan of in the film. So like I'll go to Joe first. Any like criticisms you have for the film?
Maybe like a bit towards the end, I felt like the plot was a bit off. How they go to this like place just to come all the way back, just to pick up some seeds. It kind of felt like a bit over the top at some points, but I still felt like it was a good plot. It was just a bit, I'm not too sure, just
Dragged along a bit.
I mean, so sometimes the plot, like it does get a bit lost in the action.
It's interesting you say that, because this was a film where I never felt that it kind of dragged on. This was like a 2-hour film that felt short.
Sure.
It did go very fast. Like it's very appropriate for the film, but
because it got to about halfway through, and I'm like, when's the plot going to come in? Obviously, it never does come in because there isn't a plot. But like, I was still entertained.
Well,
by
no,
the action.
okay, there is a plot to the film.
The plot is they drive on a desert, they turn left, and then they come back the same way they came.
That is the plot is Max gets kidnapped to the Citadel, and then Joe, this is Overlord Joe. What's his name? Immortal Joe. Who's like has his women who's either producing milk or giving him children, and the child bearers have escaped with Furiosa, who's I guess a general of this Citadel, and they're trying to escape Joe's capture, and they're trying to go to the land of the mothers. That's the plot, and it's a good plot. That's the plot. Like, how can you say it's not a plot of the film?
The plot is they turn left, they go back the same way they came, and the film ends.
Oh, I can't.
It's just being very generous.
Interesting that I saw one of these stunt people said the film split into 2 parts. The first part is a chase sequence, and the second part is a race back to Citadel.
Yeah,
that's
true.
I think if you did like a beat sheet for this film, you would struggle to find.
The entire thing was a storyboard.
Yeah.
No script involved.
Well, that explains
that explains the dialogue. Yeah.
What are you keeping that?
I mean, the dialogue was just, I don't know, it felt just dry in a way.
So is this podcast at the moment. I can't think of what to say.
Yeah, I know. There's not a lot to say, to be honest.
I have a lot. Okay. Come on.
There's a lot of style and not much substance.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of substance.
Visuals. It's a lot of visuals, not a lot of dialogue.
Yeah.
Speaking of substance, like I was saying earlier, if you wanted to analyze this film, you could, because there's a lot of deep. I think a lot of religious connotations. The main being Immortan Joe being the sort of godlike figure who is generous for giving like a bit of water to everybody. And then
he scares me.
He is pretty scary. The Citadel is a sort of like Garden of Eden type thing. And I saw this one guy that said Nux is Nux is Max's son. Because of like the umbilical cord they have with the blood bag, and they like, and then as soon as Max starts to trust Nux, Max bathes himself in like mother's milk, hence being the mother of Nux.
Hold on.
Max and Nux, you know.
Also,
who's
they waste.
The white guy, the white guy who like joins the good guys.
How is he his son?
I don't know. It was just a thing someone said online. I was just pointing out, you know.
They seem to waste a pretty big amount of water in the film for a film that's kind of they're reliant on water. Like when they stop and like the blonde-haired woman is like washing all of them down, she just leaves a hose on while like talking to Max. It's just like spilling out. I'm like, just turn the hose off.
It's not very environmentally friendly. This film, like there's a lot of explosions with giant
explosions.
gas. You know. They're causing the post-apocalyptic world with.
I guess that's the point. There's kind of no escape from that kind of. It's like
so let's screw over the actual real
everyone's
world
greedy.
Film.
It's a cyclical narrative.
Oh, it's not kind of.
So I know that I'm usually a big endorser for such films as Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw, but I do think the car chases are genuinely more entertaining than they are in Hobbs and
Shaw.
Right?
Oh, he admits it finally. Hobbs and Shaw is the worst film of all time.
You can notice the authenticity as well with the fact it's practical effects.
Yeah.
But just kind of the. I guess just.
I mean, it's much better than Fast and Furious. God, those fights.
I haven't seen one of the films, so I wouldn't know.
You've seen none of the
Haven't seen
Fast
any
and
of
Furious
them?
films.
I haven't seen any Fast and Furious films.
You haven't lived.
Oh, I apologise.
Aaron hasn't seen Forrest Gump. I mean, has he?
Okay, do you want to say anything else I haven't seen? Just to expose me a bit more.
See Forrest Gump.
What have you seen?
Jeez.
I have seen a lot of films apart from Forrest Gump, E.T. and
Hunger Games. You haven't
what?
seen Hunger Games. I
oh,
don't know
I'm so
how
sorry
you
for
haven't
seeing
seen
Hunger Games by Jennifer Lawrence. I apologise.
You only saw Indiana
By
Jones like,
Jennifer
a few
Lawrence.
No,
weeks ago.
I saw
Back to the Future.
I saw
No.
Indiana Jones for the first time last year. Back to
This
the
is
Future
poor.
for the first time.
This is very poor.
I've seen a lot more films like that are not like that, like
Wait,
mainstream.
when was the first time you saw Shawshank Redemption? I swear that was
like-
used to be...
It was last year, like early last year.
Yeah, but like so did I.
Yeah.
That's
Yes,
not-
so did Daniel.
No, it was
Have you
no.
seen Shawshank, or-
Yes, I have. Yeah, I'm just saying. I remember saying it to you, and you were like, "No, I haven't seen it yet." But that was like recently. But
Supposedly one of the best films ever made.
supposedly, I don't
Um,
understand that. Why is it said? Actually, this is about a different film. That's not.
Yeah, that's about a Marax who wrote.
Yeah.
One thing what I would like to say is the cinematography as well. Really, like it's very, very technicolor, very vibrant. It reminds me a
Yeah.
lot of Edgar Wright. I don't know what you guys thought about that because like it's like really hyper fast movements and like crash zooms at times, and especially in the opening sequence with Tom Hardy.
Yes, actually, yeah. I would say that too.
Any thoughts on that, anybody?
I mean, if I didn't know who the director was, I would have thought it was Edgar Wright filming it. To be
Yeah.
honest, because car scenes in Baby Driver are quite similar to these car scenes, and obviously the crash zooms and all these techniques are quite similar in Edgar Wright's films. So yeah, I would have said it was by Edgar Wright, but of course it's not. It's by who's it by?
George Miller.
George Miller. Yeah. I'm just going to bring up a point that they actually got some Oscar awards. They actually got an Oscar for the best production design and the best makeup and hairstyling
That was
costume.
a great segue, Finley. That
Yeah,
was such a
very
such a
well
smooth
deserved.
transition.
Very well deserved. Sound mixing is suggestible for the Oscar. Like
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
some of the dialogue was, you couldn't hear it.
But the best production design, I would definitely give that to them.
Also editing. I think editing was really.
Editing, yeah.
Also, I'll quickly mention this before we end. I did watch a couple of clips from the old Mad Max films, and what I said earlier about the characters being over the top and the style, and like there's that bit at the start where Tom Hardy runs in like a time lapse when he's trying to escape. It's very I thought it was really unprovoked and like a bit weird. Like why would you want to like do that? But it's exactly the same style as the old Mad Max films.
Is it? Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think they're also making a new Mad Max film called around Furiosa.
Furiosa, yeah, played
On
by
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Anya Taylor-Joy, and it also stars Chris Hemsworth and
Ah,
other people.
okay.
She sort of acted like the main character in this film for quite a lot of it. 'Cause Max,
Definitely, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think for a good portion of the film we actually follow her and just completely forget about Max.
Well, she's the main one with most of the dialogue, so I think that's why we mainly follow her.
Yeah.
maybe just like at the start of the film was kind of like sort of showed they were sort of like dehumanizing women. Because there was also that scene with it was a bit weird. It was like those lucky women sort of being like milked like cows for like breast milk. It was like proper weird. yeah, they were just getting like milked like cows and like I don't know. It was just weird.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
And the big guy started drinking the milk and like.
It was a very bold intro, I have to say.
And the guy in a wheelchair with a telescope,
He was like the
like
Immortan
little
Joe's
baby.
brother. I saw.
something like that.
He wasn't.
I kind of got the impression from the beginning that Furiosa was like related to Immortan Joe, because of how they were kind of. She's his daughter, isn't he? Because he mentioned
Who?
what's her name? Imperator.
Immortan.
Furiosa
Furiosa.
is
Yeah, must
Immortan
be.
Joe's daughter, because he kind of looks over at her and refers to her and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. No, definitely.
He was also
Yeah.
he was just like impregnating all the women, every single woman.
Yeah, I think everyone he claimed everyone was there. I think
Joe, was that your
all
favourite
sons
scene
and
then?
No,
Good.
it's weird.
And on that note, I'm going to end the podcast there. Thank you for watching. Before we go, can I get some final ratings from all of you? I'll start off with Joe. Out of 10, how would you rate it?
I'll probably give it like a solid 8 out of 10.
Eight.
That's what I would rate it.
Cool. Let's go to Finley with bad audio.
Yeah, I would.
Well, that is painful.
Is that too loud?
Just say your rating. Just say your rating.
Yeah, no, I would give it a solid 9.5 out of 10. Yeah, I
Okay.
really enjoyed it.
Cool. And Daniel?
Well, you know. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was entertaining. I thought it was good. Yeah, not much plot, but
Good.
And I would give it a 9 out of 10. Great cinematography, great practical effects, amazing choreography,
Wonderful.
amazing characters. Thank you all for watching. We hope you had a good time listening.
Listening,
we did
like
this
and
one,
subscribe.
but, you know,
Thanks, Joe, for
Listen
coming to the
anyway.
podcast. We appreciate
Oh, it's
having
good.
you on the
Thank
guest.
you.
thank you.
Okay, thank you for watching and goodbye.